Good morning. So raise your hand if you know that you're smart. You know you have a lot to offer. You actually even know you're doing a good job, and yet you still doubt yourself and get that like second guessing, inadequate feeling. Just raise your hand, raise your hand. Because this was like the theme. I swear I talked to like half a dozen women this week, and this was the theme that kept on coming up. And so I really wanted to hop on today and share with you what I've learned out of my own tool belt that has supported me in really moving past the sabotage pattern. So hello, I am Debbie Lichter, founder of Freedom Embodied Academy. And today I felt like this video was sponsored by the gemstone citrine. So citrine, you can just have a look right here. Citrine is a stone of our third chakra, which is so much about the theme that we're talking about today. Your sense of personal power, it's your sense of confidence, it's your ability to take action. It's also your optimism, and it's also a wealth stone. It's a success stone. It's a financial success stone. And so I thought that this was a perfect little mascot to our topic for today. But, you know, when I was speaking with women this week about just this theme of second guessing ourselves, not trusting ourselves, doubting ourselves. And it doesn't just happen with women, you know, obviously, but I just happened to be speaking with a lot of women this week. It really reminded me of a conversation that I had with a mentor not too long ago. This was during a time when my business was really expanding, and I was channeling the Congruence Code, which is the work that I now guide people through in my Freedom Embodied Academy. And I just had all of this doubt coming up. And I remember, so tell me if you've ever done this before, where you feel like you need to talk to a gajillion people about every little detail, every little thing, get everybody's opinion just to get this reassurance that you're doing it okay. Just tell me if you relate to that. If you relate to that, just just put a little smiley face in the comments so I know that you're kind of with me on this, because this is what I was doing. And so I was calling and contacting my mentor. I actually flew out to Toronto to meet my mentor and was sitting down, and and I'm going through all this stuff, and I'm so up in my head. I'm like, okay, should I do this? Should I do that? And meanwhile, I mean, the whole desire that was coming through me, it was a calling. It was something that was deep down within me. You know, there was stuff that was channeling through me. There was a beautiful way that all this wanted to come through, but I needed to figure it out, and I needed to know, and I didn't want to mess up, and I wanted to do it right, and I didn't want to fail, and I didn't want to look bad, and I didn't want to let people down, and all this stuff. And so I'm just firing these questions away at my mentor. And eventually he just looks at me and he's like, yeah, so I think you really need to trust your gut on this. And, he said that to me. And so it was definitely one of those humbling moments, because I teach how to trust your gut. That's one of the things that I teach. And yet he's like, yeah, you need to actually just trust yourself. And, sometimes we need a mentor to be able to tell us something, that allows us to get back to ourselves. I know that's how it happens for me a lot of the times. It's like, we know all the answers are within, but sometimes we're kind of so convoluted and up in our own story that we can't actually get there. We can't actually get back to ourselves. And so, yes, it took me a whole flight out to Toronto, cross the country, into another country to get that feedback that, yeah, I need to look within. But, I really, really needed that at the time. And so, hey, Janice, I'm so glad that you're here with us. And so what I'd love to share are some tools from my tool belt that have really supported me over the years in being able to cut through that second guessing stuff and really more efficiently get to a deep place of inner trust and inner guidance, inner guidance. And so we're going to talk about that today. So the first tool that I want to share with you and I actually, before I share like what the tool is, just want to know that if you have the like that voice that goes on, like, am I doing it right? Is this right? I don't want to mess up. Like, am I doing it right? Is this right? I don't want to mess up. Any of that stuff, or like, you know, and then all the things that kind of come underneath that, right? If I mess up, then I'm going to fail. If I mess up, I'm going to let people down. There's people who invested in me. There's people who are looking to me. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to get behind, you know, all the stuff that kind of comes underneath that. And so if you're moving around in a, I don't want to get it wrong. I want to get it right. I want to do this right. I want to be perfect. If you have the perfectionism thing happening, if you've got the people pleasing thing happening, if you've got the proving thing happening, any of those themes happening, here is a thing that you need to stop doing. And as I share it with you, I'm telling myself this, certainly not trying to yell at you, but the thing that I really invite you to stop doing is to get out of the right, wrong paradigm. That there's a right way of doing things and there's a wrong way of doing things, and you've got to figure out how to do it right so you don't mess up. This catches us every single time. We will never win if we are living in a right, wrong world, in a good, bad world, in a less than, better than world. We will never ever win. We will never ever have that sense of inner peace and inner trust. So what do we need to do instead? Instead of being in a right, wrong, is this right? I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to mess up. I want to do it right. I don't want to be bad. I don't want them to judge me. Instead of living in that paradigm, what we need to understand is that there is no right and wrong. There is only experience. There's only experience. And as I share with the women who are in my Freedom Embodied Academy, is that you know, you either have a series of access points or launching pads. Every single situation that comes to you, every single moment, every single person, every single interaction, every single decision is either an access point. If it's something that you on the front end looks like it's not going your way, it's an access point for you to gain deeper access, deeper understanding, deeper self-love, deeper compassion, deeper freedom, deeper peace, deeper lightness, deeper connection. There's always an access point for something more. And usually we're so in our own story, we're so attached to things needing to be a certain way that we can't see that. And yet I'm sure you've had a million situations where in the moment, it seemed like the worst thing that ever happened to you. But then when you look back at it, hindsight being 20/20, you're like, oh my gosh, I am so glad that I got fired from that. I'm so glad that I got arrested. I don't know, you know, I'm so glad that that person, you know, ended things with me, because look what it did. It got me X, Y, and Z. You know, we can always see that. So everything becomes an access point, or it becomes a launching pad. So if things are going really, really well, then it's like, great. Then instead of resting on our laurels, we get to use that as a launching pad for what's next. How exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, it's not that, oh, when am I ever going to get there? And like, I'm constantly like working on myself. Stop working on yourself. That's like part of the problem, is working on yourself. Stop working on yourself. But there's this beautiful opportunity of like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And I know that the more I open, the more I expand, the more I receive and transmit and embody and magnetize this light, the more help I can be in the world, the more love I can spread in the world, the more light I can spread in the world. And so I use this as a launching pad for what's next, my next level of freedom. So everything becomes an access point or a launching pad, and it's only our kind of like our current paradigm that we're living in, and our own like egoic identities that keep us in a right, wrong, less than, better than, good, bad, fail, success, all that kind of stuff. And so the best thing that you can do is to stop doing any of that. All right, so life is full of experiences. And what we do with them is everything. What we do with them is absolutely everything. So that is number one, so that you can stop second guessing yourself, is just realize there's no wrong here. there's nothing wrong. So I don't need to worry about so hard about doing it right. I hear this all the time when I'm speaking to mothers. There's so much fear of inadequacy and fear of doing it wrong and of messing up and of messing up your children. And if I do this one thing, and it happens with business owners and it happens with people in the working world. If I do this one project, if it doesn't go well, if I mess up, what is that going to mean? I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to be broke. I'm going to be on the street. Every single situation is a learning opportunity. We know that, but we sometimes we get so caught up with how we think things are supposed to be that we forget that. So I'm just here to remind you something that you already know. All right, so that is number one. Number two, and this is one of my favorite things to do, as many of you know. Hey, Matt, so good to see you. As many of you know, I used to have a Pilates studio, and one of my favorite things to do was to witness people coming into my studio, you know, from the end of their day or first thing in the morning, kind of, and just feeling disconnected from themselves. And then within that 50-minute or 60-minute session, I immediately saw people just come into a really, really centered, connected place within inside themselves. And it wasn't just that they were doing a workout, okay? What I noticed serendipitously was that when folks can connect with their deep core, with their pelvic floor, with their transverse abdominis, the muscles that you don't ever hear about. You hear about your six-pack muscle. You hear about that muscle that you're supposed to like, that six-pack that you're supposed to get from doing a bunch of crunches, which doesn't really actually work that way. But the deep core muscles, the multifidi, the muscles that actually surround, that are on the segments of your spine, these deep core muscles that actually hold in your abdominal contents, create stability from within, and create, you know, for those people who want, you know, kind of that whittled middle kind of like hourglass shape, it actually creates all of that. It's like those deeper core muscles. But here's what I found that was just such a serendipitous find. As I was supporting people with connecting with those deep core muscles, I saw them starting to engage with a deeper sense of trusting their guts. That's true. That's right. Like there's actually something physiological about when you can connect anatomically with your core muscles and you are able to be so present with yourself. You are actually able to start to sense more deeply what you're feeling and what you're sensing. And so this is really, really important, because when we talk about trusting ourselves or operating by inner trust, oftentimes we think that it has everything to do with our intuition and our heads and being able to see 5 steps ahead and know what's around the corner and all this kind of stuff. And I will say that I have found nothing more valuable than actually learning how to get really smart inside of your body, to learn and sense all the sensations that are going on inside of your body. And it allows you to have a sense of intelligence, of information, of being informed from a much, much deeper place. That as you're moving through the world, you can actually sense, does this feel right to me? Am I feeling connected to this? And I'll ask this in terms of, so just if you, by the way, if it inspires you to connect and activate your core, just put core activation in the comments, because actually that is something that I am supporting people around, both in my academy and in my one-on-ones and in retreats, is that actual physical, physiological, anatomical core activation, which not only gives you a tight middle, but it also can support you in reconnecting to your gut. So if that is something that is interesting to you, and it's so nice to have you here, I'm so glad that you're joining us, then definitely put that in the comments. Okay, so I'd love to know at this point if you have any questions on what we've been talking about so far. We've been talking about there being no right and wrong paradigm. We've been talking about, you know, leaning into experience. We've been talking about really, really getting deep into your core and learning how to listen from a much deeper, intuitive place that happens from a gut level. This is so, so powerful as you are out in the world evaluating what to do and what decisions to make. You actually have this built-in system of your body. Do I feel expansive when I step into this, or do I feel contracted? And that's where I want to ask you, where do you feel like your decisions are actually coming from? Are your decisions, and is your thinking, and is your second guessing and self-doubt, is it coming from your head, or is it coming from your gut? Because what I can probably guarantee you is that if you were in a second guessing pattern, if you're in a self-doubt pattern, you're probably up in your head. I remember when I was in that massive self-doubt, like, that massive thing before my mentor said, you need to trust your gut on this. You need to go with this, like you are getting channeled information. What are you asking me for? You know? But this is what we do. We're up in our heads. And when we're up in our heads, let me just tell you, because this kind of goes into the aspect of disembodiment that I see happening with so many of us, and incongruence that I see happening with so many of us, where our head starts to operate separately from the rest of our bodies, from our heart's intelligence, from our gut wisdom, from our body's intelligence. It operates in this separate silo, where, you know, we're just kind of bouncing around with our own thoughts. And in that separated place, we can feel alone, we feel doubtful, we're full of fear. It's not really a good place to be late at night. In fact, you will probably hear me say a lot of times, your head is not a safe place to be late at night. Do not go alone. Do not be alone in your head late at night. It is not very, very safe. So, you know, when we're up in that place, it's going to just be a wellspring of fear and doubt and second guessing, and we can probably even feel ourselves up in our heads a lot. And so what we want to do is you want to get out of your head, you want to come down into your body, you want to get connected to your core, you want to get connected to your gut. And if you're not sure how to do that, then put core activation in the comments, because I would love to either get with you in person, or to do a Skype session with you, or do a Zoom session with you, and to actually train you how to activate your core on a deep, deep level. Because this is a tool that is not just going to help you really feel like you are, you know, able to strengthen your core, but it's actually going to help you come back to your center. I was talking to a woman earlier this week, and she's like, I just want to, she literally said this, I want to activate my core. I feel super smart woman, has so much going on. And she's like, I feel like I'm not in my center. I want to get in my center. I do meditation, I do all these other things, but I'm not actually connected with myself. Okay. It'll get off of the core bandwagon. You hear how passionate I am about it. So the final tool, this is connected to what we're talking about. These are things that are all connected, right? But this final tool that I want to share with you is, okay, so the part of us that is up in our head is the part of us that is also usually looking out into the world to try and get the reassurance, the feedback, the information that we need so that it can reaffirm, am I doing it right? Am I okay? Am I gonna mess up? Am I gonna fail? What do you think? What's your opinion out there? And it kind of pushes us forward into other people. And as you have heard me speak about many times before, we get caught up in that needing to look to the outside for the validation to affirm our own internal experience. And that goes for all of the second guessing stuff. So if I have this feeling of doubt, I'm not sure, I don't feel like I'm doing it right, I don't feel like I'm okay, then it's going to propel me out into the world to say, well, you tell me, how do you think? What do you think? Am I okay? Am I doing it all right? And this is what we do. You're not bad and wrong if you do it. This is just what we do. We got to get honest about it. We got to recognize it. And if you find yourself in that pattern, that's okay. You're not wrong and bad. If you find yourself in that pattern though, then the invitation is awesome. This is an access point. This is a launching pad for you to gain greater access towards your own inner guidance. And so what we need to do is we need to get realigned with our inner guidance. And I will share this, a huge, huge piece of that is your gut guidance, is what we've been talking about. But there's another huge, huge piece of that. And that is the spiritual component. And, you know, here's the thing. I'm almost nervous sometimes when I talk about spiritual component, because today spirituality can mean, you know, a million things. It can mean like I wear Lululemon pants. It can mean, you know, I drink matcha green teas. Like it can mean like, you know, a lot of different things. And so I know I speak with so many people, and right now I'm probably talking to a lot of people who are already on a spiritual path, who already have lots of practices, who do meditation or who do other kinds of healing practices or visualizations or all these other kinds of things. And it's all wonderful and beautiful. And all I'm sharing is that in my personal experience, what I found is that there's always a deeper level of access and reliance. That we can walk around with the beliefs that we have, we can walk around with the ideas that we have, and all the ways that we're trying to be spiritual in the world, and all the ways that we're trying to assert spiritual principles into our lives. And yet, if we're walking around with self-doubt or second-guessing ourselves, then it just is an indication that there is an access point for a deeper reliance on that divine inspiration that comes from within. And so I will share this, and I will say it to you as I am listening to these words myself. I had a mentor who said to me once, learn to listen and listen to learn. Learn to listen and listen to learn. So, so important. Such sage advice. And I really find that at the end of the day, when we're able to unhook from how we think things are supposed to be, what we think we need, what we think it's supposed to look like, when we stop comparing ourselves to some ideal, some idea of how it's supposed to be, a business person is supposed to be like this, a spiritual person is supposed to be like this, a mother is supposed to be like this, a daughter, a partner is supposed to be like this, a coworker, a manager is supposed to be like this. As soon as we can unhook from that, and we can really start to listen from a deeper place and not have the answers, but be open with questions, be humble, be honest, and be open. It's incredible what we can receive. And so today, I invite you to please, first of all, share which of those 3 tips or tools really landed for you today. I would love to hear that. So you can just post in the comment, was it the right, wrong, get off the right, wrong paradigm and lean into the experience? Was it to connect in with your core and do that core activation? Was it to align with your inner guidance and gain a deeper level of access? So post in the comments. And then my invitation to you this week is to actually take action on one of those 3 things this week. Don't wait. Do it. If you're not sure how to do it, if you're like, this is great information, Deb, but I want a transformation and I don't know how to do this stuff, then hello, I'm here. And I would love to help you with any one of these things. This is what I specialize in. This is my absolute joy and pleasure to do this in the world. And so if you would like to connect with me, and you would like to carve out some time together, head to allofyou.today. That is allofyou.today. Hop on my calendar, grab a congruence activation call with me, a 15-minute call with me. Let's really zero in on the area or areas that you are most wanting to have a shift in. And let's give you a couple distinctions that can move the needle forward for you on being able to have exactly that. Okay, so thank you again for tuning in today. It was so fun to be here with you. Again, we are sponsored by the gemstone citrine today, and if you are inspired by citrine, you can also book a session with me and find out how you can get some citrine, because that is one of my favorite things to do, is to adorn all of you. So thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in live. Alexa, I'm so glad that you were able to join in live. Sending you so much love. I'll speak with you next time. Bye for now. Mwah.